Financial Matters.
Dr. Frank Magwegwe is my guest. Dr. Frank, are you well this evening?
I am well. Good evening, 702 listeners. Good evening, Cape Talk listeners. What a wonderful, wonderful start to the show, Bra Ops. I loved your idea of just sharing with us about your friend who've got a job.
Yeah.
And I quickly wrote down here, and of course our show is about money, but I mean, we don't think life then money. It's all
Absolutely.
one thing.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about a job, I quickly wrote down 4 things that a job means to me. And you touched on one of them. Dignity.
Yep.
Sense of meaning in life.
Yep.
A sense of purpose. And I matter. Right? When you've got a job. So often, we don't realize until we hear stories like you've just shared. When you hear that high statistic of unemployment rate, we've got people struggling with purpose, meaning, dignity, in their lives. It's more than putting food on the table.
Much more.
Much more than
Much,
that.
much more. And I was listening to Viola Davis. I don't know if you know Viola Davis, award-winning actress.
Yes.
Beautiful woman, amazing actress. And she was speaking to a whole group of students. They invite these successful people to come and talk to students. And one of the things she says, poverty makes you invisible.
Yeah.
And invisibleness is sad. It's an evil thing because nobody sees you.
Yeah.
Nobody hears you. There you are, but nobody sees you. Nobody hears you. I think that is the worst thing, to be absolutely invisible, because we want to mean something. We want to
matter.
Be here.
Yes.
We want to matter.
Yeah.
And it matters that we want to matter.
And in fact, what it tells us, when you think of unemployment and with Viola Davis' comments, you are in a world that is trying so hard to make you invisible.
Absolutely.
So you really have to fight hard.
You're a number somewhere.
You're a number.
Yeah.
When you're unemployed.
Let's talk a little bit about those tools, Dr. Frank, for wealth creation. We've been speaking over the last weeks about a number of tools.
Yes.
We've spoken about a number of investments. We talked about unit trusts. We talked about all those shares. We've spoken about insurance policies of different types. Why it's important. Absolutely. Today we speak about the funeral insurance or funeral plan.
Most held product
in South Africa.
Yeah.
I've got a few gripes around.
1 in 2
working
South Africans
hold
a product called funeral. It has actually come down probably 4 years ago. Around 2019, it was about 54%. So it has come down a little bit, just about, still quite high. Nearly 1 in 2. Has a funeral cover. And I want to start, just kind of give you quick stats.
Sure.
Then you can,
go ahead.
Tell me what you think about it. And 702 listener, there's a method to the madness. We have consistently said with Bra Ops on this show, one of the things we want you to get from our conversations is we want you to be curious, because when you become curious, you improve your financial knowledge, you improve your financial wealth. And so stand back and ask yourself, this is an amazing product, this funeral cover that we're talking about, one of the most profitable products by insurers and banks, one of those products that even clothing retailers sell it. Cell phone companies sell it. You typically think it's a financial services product.
No,
it must be a bank.
There's a ship here in Mamelodi that's also
they sell it.
Yeah.
So we're saying to you, 702 Talk List, stand back, be curious. Why is everyone selling this product? You are buying your groceries. They say, by the way, hoy in funeral cover. Do you want a funeral cover? Right? It's widely available. It's held by many people. It's one of the products, Ops, that has got so much innovation. I sit back as a financial planner and I say to myself, I wish some of those best brains, the actuaries in this world, who design, you can cover 21 people. We will transport your body anywhere in Southern Africa.
Get a cow.
We give you Incomo benefit.
Yeah.
We hoy in the tombstone.
Yeah.
We give you groceries for 6 months.
Airtime.
Data.
Yeah.
Do you see? And what I'm saying, Cape Talk and 702, stand back. Why is there so much innovation on this product? Why is everyone trying to sell it? So you need to stand back. There's a story there. It's very profitable, and often we need to be so careful about not having too much of it. Remember, what did we say last week? Insurance covers you month by month. You cover me the month of April, nothing happens, that premium is gone. It paid for that. Then we go next month. So we don't want to be over-insured, right?
Before you continue with the funeral cover, can you have two life insurance policies at the same time?
You can.
Okay.
Yes. But there are rules around it, right? So let's start with funeral cover that we are talking about today. Right. We can touch on life cover, did it last week. And we'll go into detail next week on it. So funeral cover is fascinating, Bra Obs, because there's a lot of fraud in that space.
Okay.
Because there's lots of people, even your corner burial society can offer funeral cover, right? So a number of legislative pieces have come in to try to reduce the fraud in that world. When, like we said last week, as fraud goes up in an insurance industry, premiums go up because it becomes expensive to cover, right? So a couple of things that have come out. Number one, you now can only have funeral cover. Funeral cover, maximum 100,000, and that 100,000, Bra Obs, your family can't have Bra Obs covered by 4 insurance companies, the same insurable entities, you, Bra Obs, by 4. And then you claim, and they want to get 400,000 out of this, 4 times 1. So there's now rules around that. The maximum is 100,000. And there's rules where in the system, because all these things work with your ID number. Yeah. In fact, I was talking to it just now. I was going to show with a good friend of mine, Tiani Mbalati. He said he's going to join because he knows a lot about this world. And we're talking about it just to say.
I know the Mbalatis well, man.
Yeah. I call him Mr. T.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is the same Balati, but maybe
must be.
But a very, very influential family in Mamelodi called them Balati.
No, then because he was talking to me about Mike Pokroy, that you guys know in common.
Yes.
That's the same Mr. T, Tiani Balati.
Yes.
Tiani, you're listening today. Hello.
Yeah.
And so, Bra Aubrey, you need to be very careful. So we are offering one piece of nugget for our listeners.
Yeah.
If 4 children go out and say, let's cover our dead at 4 insurance companies, the same insurable interest, the father, 100.
Right.
The father passes away. The law says, wait a minute, one company is going to pay you for the insurable entity you're dead. The other 3 will refund you your premiums. Because there's strict rules around the same insurable interest covered multiple times. If you want to draw a parallel example, think about your crab ops.
Yes.
Yes. You can't have a car insured by more than one insurer.
Yes.
If they didn't pick it up and you get in an accident, what happens? They pay you back some of the premiums and only one insurer pays for, say, the write-off of the car.
Right.
So there's this thing called the insurable entity. So that's one thing we need to know as families out there.
It's probably why you find that elderly people are very, very careful. I saw it quite often when you've got these young ladies that stand outside the pension paying. In the townships we have community halls.
Yes.
And around about the 3rd to the 6th, the elderly go to the community halls where they get the SASA grant.
Yes.
Wow, you'll see the business activity there.
Yes.
From the guys that are selling Coca-Cola to Millie Meal to the people, very, very pretty young ladies standing outside there selling funeral cars.
And you know what the old people call them, Raops?
Yeah.
Abo, should you die?
Hey.
Chris, because when they open their mouth, they say,
should you die,
comma.
You know. I heard.
Yes.
Should you? I thought they say woshututa.
Abo, should you die?
Oh.
Then you have no funeral cover. How are you going to be buried with dignity? Should you die? And then they tell you a story.
Now, the one grandmother, many years ago, I used to sell Millie Meal and Macheu outside there.
Yes.
Because Abokoko, they enjoy a Macheu.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I used to sell a Macheu, the homemade Macheu there. And she says, I don't like this idea about shutati.
Should you die?
you know it was should you die? Because I hear should die.
Should you die, comma.
Anyway,
You need
so
funeral
very
cover.
pretty young ladies looking very, very corporate.
Yes.
And then they've got a clipboard and a
Correct.
pen there. And then you'll see the old grannies, they'll say,
Yes.
they want to go.
I'm
Right?
a fool.
And they don't want to talk to them.
Yes.
And I see where that law then, where it emanates from.
Absolutely.
Because Abokoko, they've come to understand that sometimes they can be seen as, I don't know what the right words is, but they can be seen as objects
Correct.
of money creation by those shududadis.
And isn't it interesting, Bra Obs? So we're saying, first thing,
you
remember
die?
about
Okay,
the
yeah.
limit. Abo, should you die?
Yeah.
Be very careful. Talking about limits now.
Yes.
First nugget we can give our listeners.
Yes.
The second one I've just led to is, Bra Obs. And it's this. This product is so amazing, Bra Obs. You can even put people not related to you. You just need their ID number. That is why you've got a product that says you can cover 21 people.
That's why there's
Because
so much fraud.
it doesn't require what we call they don't ask you, Bra Ops, about your health. ID number, add them, done. How much? 10,000 or 15 or 18,000, right? So it's a product that is rife to fraud because you can put your neighbor and the neighbor doesn't know it, Bra Ops.
So there is no compulsion. There is no expectation that
It doesn't need
the
to be a
person
relative.
that-
Yes.
The person that you cover must know that they cover. They don't need to know
They
that.
don't need to know that.
Then go say,
If you know the ID number, you can put them there. They don't even need the copy of the ID number. They might be tightening it now with fraud. That is why now the rules are coming in to make it a bit strict. Because what we then have is people are no longer using the product for its purpose. They're saying this is an investment. I just put ukoko, nobani. I know they're not well, and then they die, I claim. That is why we've got these laws coming in. And the third point we want to say, one, there's limits, be careful. Second point, we're saying it's an interesting product because it doesn't ask a lot of health questions. You can be put by someone and you don't even know about it. Then the third point, we are saying, for the reason, perhaps, there's insurance. Very clever people pricing this product. They know. It is very possible for Magwegwe Kusasa. He's going to add someone who he knows is unwell. And yes, there's a bit of a waiting period, sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months, then you claim. That is why the product is quite expensive, generally speaking, when you compare it to life cover.
Yeah.
Because it's got this thing that, asaze, we don't know your health.
Yes.
And therefore, we're going to estimate with our historical records as an insurer or as a bank. And so it is generally an expensive, product.
well,
compared to life cover.
You've already touched all of the issues I've agreed.
The big, yes.
about this segment of insurance.
So we really need to be careful.
Maybe let me ask the question. Is it something we need?
Yes, Bra Ops. We need it. Now, let me tell you how I think we should approach funeral cover. If you are working, Bra Ops, you work for 702, Bra Chris, anyone who's working, the first question they must ask them, not that every company offers it. Before I buy funeral cover, I need to check, does my company have a funeral cover benefit? Most companies have it. If the answer is yes, how much? Right? Then you know you've got something. Yes, there's limitations, Bra Ops, with those. They tend to cover just your nuclear family. So you, wife, kids, and at best, your parents.
Right.
Right. But sometimes you want to add to aunt, to gogo, other people. Sure. But at least know as a start, I am covered by my employer for this amount. Then you say, but I want to add other relatives, right? What I would recommend, you really need just another one. Not 3, not 4. So the one at the company, if you're working, doesn't allow you to add a lot of extended family members. Then get one that allows you to add all these other extended and really ask yourself, for how much do I need it? Just that discipline to avoid being over-insured. Let me tell you another interesting thing, then I'll pause. You know, Bra Ops, and I'm going to do it through a question.
Yeah.
Bra Ops, you shop around for your bakkie for insurance.
Yeah.
You get a good deal.
I haven't got one yet. But I'm going to.
You've got the old bakkie. I know you want the new one.
Yeah.
The old bakkie is insured,
Even if
right?
it's nice second.
It's insured, the old bakkie.
Yeah.
You get a new deal from another insurer. Yo, you're going to reduce by 100 rand a month.
Yeah, now
Would
it's
you
a
switch?
no-brainer.
Would you switch?
Yes, I would.
Would you say to yourself, Bra Obs, I have been paying, wait a bit, I've been paying for 4 years this old insurer. I'm going to keep this one and start paying the new one, the reduced, and have two.
I must tell you, I argued like that to my wife.
Yeah.
She laughed at me like,
Yeah.
you're going to laugh at me
Yeah.
now. She said, hey, this thing is month by month.
Thank you.
All of the money that you've
It's
paid.
gone.
It's gone.
You didn't-
It's only your insurance policy for your car is only as good as the last month that you paid and
That's
nothing
it.
happened.
That's it.
So for that reason, I'm now I'm less religious
Yeah.
about
Right?
car policy.
Shop around,
policy.
move.
Yes.
That's what you want our 702 and Cape Talk to understand, Bra Obs.
Yeah.
Why then, when it comes to funeral cover, a bank introduces a new awesome one with 21 benefits, tombstone, groceries, airtime, all those good things. You say, no, I've been paying this one for 10 years. I'm going to keep it. Then I'm going to have this one with this insurer. But you don't do it when you have a car. It doesn't make sense because that money is gone. You are covered month by month. That is one of the reasons. Our own research at GIBS, our own research at Nedbank, research from the Actuarial Association of South Africa, it says the reason South Africans have 3 to 4, they are saying, I've been paying for this one 10 years, this one 15 years, this one, like we're saying your mom,
Yes.
30 years.
Yes.
And then they keep them and they keep on getting new ones with new benefits. Airtime benefits that
Yes.
was not there 30 years
Yes.
ago. You
Or
add
now
them,
a cow.
you are over-insured.
Yeah.
And you may have these complications if you're covering the same people when you try to claim.
Why? I mean, what? Back in the day, you'll know this, Dr. Magwegwe, that there was the guy perhaps who has a funeral parlor.
Yeah.
In the community, and he had a little book.
Yes.
I remember we used to call it Bukwan.
Yeah.
It was a form of funeral cover because in that community, we would be paying maybe 20 rand
Correct.
per family.
Yes.
To that person.
Yeah.
Should anybody die in my family, then the funeral parlor would take care of
Correct.
everything.
Yes.
We would obviously have to look after the food and so forth.
Yeah.
But in as far as the burial of the person,
You covered.
we are covered.
Yeah.
And I suppose the big corporates saw that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they,
absolutely.
They took that over because it must be lucrative.
And modernized it.
Yes.
And realized the demand of, just think of the advert. They pull on your heart. Buried.
They put
with
Mam Lillian Dube there.
dignity.
I don't even have. You don't
Right.
have to talk.
You don't even
once
say much.
Once you've got Mam Lillian Dube anywhere, I buy because I love her so much.
So we need, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're saying 702 listener, I gave you the prescription last week where I said, look into the debit orders that are coming off. How many funeral covers do you have? That's the language people say, funeral covers. How many do you have? Do you also have one with employer? Are you also like Bra Obs, where there is also, by the way, you are a member of a stock firm.
Yes.
So people
We've
have
got
stock
the
firm,
thing there.
then they've got formal ones,
Yeah.
then they have the one with the employer. Please be careful about being over-insured. We need the product because the concept makes sense. It's saying funerals are expensive. So, should you not have that money and we need to bury someone with dignity, the money is there. But it doesn't mean have 3 or 4 and this sum covered is 400,000. That's excessive. Even 200,000, that's excessive.
We do, as a community, need to have a conversation amongst ourselves as to why it is that we spend so much money.
Cost funerals themselves
At the funeral. That's a different conversation
Yes.
altogether. But I imagine that the actuaries that look at this social phenomenon look at the fact that the majority of the people of this country understand funerals as a very, very important part of society, of belonging, so there are all sorts of other psychological issues that we need to discuss.
Yes.
That's not the conversation we're having at the moment, right?
What we can say though is when you are listening to those adverts, you're seeing these amazing people we follow like Mam Lily and Desmond Dube.
Yeah.
I think what we are saying to our 702 listeners and Cape Talk listeners is because there's a big industry out there that knows, particularly black folks, it's important for us to bury our loved one. I'm not saying other cultures don't have, but there just seem to be that extra dimension of it, right? And just be aware, the advertisers, they are taking a little bit of advantage of that to pull your heartstrings.
Absolutely.
And you end up saying, oh, this one doesn't have cashback. Remember we spoke about it last week. Let me add this new one that has got cash payback. So there is an element of, kind of that psychology of marketing. So don't be too swayed by it. Get to a point where you just said, I am covered. I've one at work and I've got this one. I need to put my money in exchange traded fund, in savings and investment product to build wealth.
And they think hard
instead of just protecting wealth, which is what these products do.
They think hard about who they use in these adverts. Because they know that they are going to pull at the heartstrings. I mean, if you're going to use Mom Lillian Dube, I'm unarmed. I'm just gonna, because she's like our national mother. You know what I mean?
And do you know how many people buy it on the phone?
Absolutely.
So that's another interesting thing. That in there, maybe there's another nugget for our 702 and Cape Talk listeners to say, you get a lot of calls, and someone is telling about this amazing funeral cover on the phone, and it's got this benefit, it's got this. Please, it's your right. Just say, I want to check what I have before I commit. Please call me back tomorrow. Because the sale, Aubrey, it's a product that pulls the heart. This is what they are saying to you. No, the call is recorded. Just say yes now. If you change your mind, you've got a 30-day cooling off period. Who remembers the cooling off period? Consumers don't.
Especially because it's such an emotive issue.
So don't get into it. Just take your time and say, I just want to go and check what I have. I think I've got a few of those policies. Let me just check. And we're saying we want to avoid being off. You know how many people I come across? And then I help them look at the bank statement when we're doing a budget. And I see 3 or 4. They don't even remember themselves there that many. Debit orders coming off for years, Obs.
Give us a call, 011-883-0702. How emotionally beholden are you to the idea of funeral cover? And how many funeral covers do you actually have? Have you actually checked? I don't know. I know that I've got one with the Machens, the Stockville. I know that we've got one.
That one,
I know that there's another one. There's a family one. So, you know.
Already 2.
Yeah, so there's 2. There's a family one, and it's almost emotional blackmail, because when you now live in Johannesburg now, you don't come and visit us. So at least, when there's a meeting to talk about the funeral cover, we all have to meet, and there's that whole family feeling. It's all nice and fuzzy and warm. It's nice. So there's a lot of emotion. And I see how the corporates have seen that, have understood that, and they use it. I mean, I don't know if they used Zoto or Bantu for selling. I don't think it would work no? Huh? No, it wouldn't work out. I don't think it would probably work. But the point that I'm trying to make is that they understand whom to use to play at our heartstrings for which target market. How is the critical question, Dr. Frank? Because our whole conversation has been about how these products are wealth creators.
Absolutely.
How they help us create wealth. How? Because I haven't seen it yet. So how does a funeral cover help me create wealth?
Remember what you said. And by the way, 702 Cape Talk listeners, we're not in a funeral bashing show. The product has its role. We are just saying, make sure you've got the right amount. Don't be over-insured. And coming back to Bra Ob's question, we spoke about last week to say the idea of insurance is to make good, right, of the loss. So let's start with, insuring a phone, insuring a car before we come to insuring our loved ones. It's the idea of something broke, a geyser. You were covered for it. You're not going to go into your bank account and get money to fix the geyser.
Right.
You're not go into your bank account to get the money to fix the tire because you went into a pothole. You are insured, right? So that's the sense. They protect you from these unplanned events, and therefore you create wealth by not spending money that you would have spent, right?
Yeah.
And the same with funeral, because we are saying it's quite expensive. But at the same time, we're saying those products, we need to be so careful about not being over-insured on all insurance products. Motor insurance, life cover, disability, income protection, funeral cover, because you are covered month by month. It's not a long-term investment. Let me throw in another idea so that our listeners are so aware and wise around how these products are sold. Again, another idea that we need to be careful, bro. I was myself victim to it many years ago.
Yeah.
I won't mention the company because we don't want to get into trouble with Prime Media, but their spokesperson, before I got to, clued up about money, they say to me, so I was asking a lot of questions around it. I'm already awake, I've got it. Why do I need it? And then the person says, no, but you can also think about it like that. Because this one has cash back. If you don't claim, you get some of your benefits, back 20%.
Yeah.
It's an investment. But it's not. So there's a little bit of mispositioning. There's always bad.
That's a lie.
Yeah. That's a lie. There's always. So I didn't want to say a lie on air.
Yeah, you're a nice guy, but it's a lie.
Say a lie on.
Yeah. No, it's
so
a lie. It's not
we're saying also be careful when someone is misrepresenting the product. The cash payback, that's not the purpose of the product. So it's not an investment because you're gonna get cash if you don't claim. No, it's a product to protect the fact that you may not have money to bury your loved ones. It so happened they've put a feature called cash payback that, by the way, you pay for anyway because the premium is different on a cash payback product versus one that doesn't. Remember, we spoke about it last week. So just be careful. We want you to ask the right questions. When someone is overselling it, you say, I've got another one, but that's what often happens. No, but I have already. They say, but this one is interesting because it's kind of acts like an investment. And then you say, how? It's, no, it pays you back if you don't claim 20% of the premium. And then someone might be sold based on that. No.
Give us a call. I'd love to hear from you.
investment.
011-883-0702. If you're in Cape Town, the number is 021-446-0567. We're talking about funeral cover as a way by which we can create wealth. What's becoming clearer to me is that you don't make money through a funeral cover.
Absolutely.
But at least you don't have to go into your emergency fund.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and make a loan.
Yeah.
So in many ways, it's a wealth creating tool in the sense that you don't have to go into contingency funds that may exist
100%.
in order to be able to finance a funeral, because we understand that culturally there is a very deep connectedness to funerals.
Yeah.
A conversation we need to have, folks, one of these days.
Yes.
I'm looking for a
deep.
way
Yeah.
of how we need to have that conversation, because maybe if we have an honest conversation about the meanings we attach to a funeral, we may be able to unhinge ourselves from some of the incarcerations of having to be so heavily indebted to the idea of funerals. I'm not saying that we should never be
mindset. We love the word mindset on this show. Mindset towards funeral cover.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't aspire to bury our loved ones with dignity. Lord knows that life is hard enough. So when we give our loved ones a good send-off, something in our hearts is healed at a certain level.
Correct.
But we do need to have a conversation about what it means for those that remain behind, because that's a reality too that we need to understand, because it's one we experience and often experience in deep pain, over and above the pain of losing the loved one. So we do need to have that conversation. I need to find a way. Please, to say we need to have a conversation about funerals and what they mean to us as a culture, because there's a big conversation to be had about that. It's not the time now, but I think it's very, very important. And I think that the actual
psychologists,
absolutely, the actuaries have understood that.
Absolutely.
And they are cashing in on it.
Yeah, that's why I always say to people, which product do you buy? It's a food retailer. It's a clothing retailer. It's an insurance fund. My goodness. You must be curious why.
Let's take some calls. Tolofelo is in Soweto. Good evening to you, Tolofelo.
Hello, Ops.
Are you well this evening?
I am.
Wonderful.
And getting old nicely.
Wonderful.
It was me and my son when he was still alive.
Yeah.
He passed away 2015. We didn't have any funeral.
About your loss.
And then I had only one policy. It was me and him on that policy. And then when he passed away, because he was the only child and whatever, I was working wherever, then they thought, this one is going to be a hell of a funeral. And it was just an ordinary funeral, less than 30 6,000. And then 2015, then I canceled that policy. I said, my money, I must eat my money. Makeup is waiting for me and everything. And now I had to take a funeral undertaker to pay them more. 100 rand every month for myself only in that book.
Nice. Myself
only. And nobody else. I'm eating my money.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about anybody to go and ask for ID and death certificate as I see other people running around.
Yeah. Lovely.
Very good, Ostulafelo. Let's hear what Dr. Frank has to say. Much appreciated. Thanks very much for the call.
That's really the thinking that we need, perhaps. The one that just says, let me really look at my nuclear family, my immediate family, and my extended family, and just how much cover do we need? And of course, if you are, covering parents, siblings, doing it as a family, like the discussion you mentioned, and we sort of said, kind of, this is reasonable, and know what we have. Because when you have that, you are empowered in two ways. One, you're not over-insuring, but more importantly, you are protected from because we get them all the time. And you can just politely decline, say, thank you very much. It's an interesting product, but I am covered. I've got enough. Because often people, they don't know what they have or how many do they have. That's why they end up, falling into buying more. Right. So I really love what Solofel said around that.
Yeah. Yolanda is in Rudaport. Hi, Yolanda.
Good evening, Yolanda.
Good evening, Aubrey, to you and Dr. Frank. We love your show.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. Much appreciated.
Aubrey, I'm also in the position where I was working, and with my pension fund, I have a funeral policy.
Yeah, often it comes with that.
When I turned 65, I had to stop that.
Yeah.
So my pension money had to be paid out.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to get a funeral policy, but I found that when they ask me what my age is, and I'll say 70, and I'll say I only want it for about 20,000.
Yes.
And then they say to me, oh, no, that's cheap. It'll be about 150. And then they say, well, have you got anybody else? I say, yes, my husband, but he's 76. Then they say, no, your repayment's going to be for 500 rand a month.
Yes.
So is it affected by age?
Oh, lovely question. Yes. So, Aubrey, this is one of those things general around insurance, all insurance products. The older you become, the more expensive life cover, critical, funeral cover.
So you become a bit of a risk to them?
You become a bit of a risk because they use statistical tables, these insurance companies, and they basically are saying the life expectancy of an average South African woman is the following. Of a man, does he smoke, does he drink, all those various things. So the older you are, they just statistically, of course, they are saying, the high likelihood of, health issues and then passing on. That is why they then charge quite high premiums. And so what should happen? You were working, you had group life cover and group funeral cover. Often, the good thing to do, you are now retiring, so you're exiting the company. Most companies have a group benefits continuation policy that allows you to carry on with life cover, critical illness, funeral cover in your own name, but it's no longer part of the company because you don't work there.
Right.
And that would mean you don't have to go and answer medical questions again. You don't need to go and be priced at 70 and you're happy 76 because you just carry on with what you had.
Yeah.
So please, 702 listener, if you close to retirement, take advantage of continuation of group risk benefits in your personal name, then you don't have to pay higher insurance premiums because of your age.
Wow. AB is in Soweto. Thanks for the call, AB. What is on your mind?
Hi. Is that Aubrey?
Yeah, that's Aubrey Braby. What is on your mind?
Yeah, right. I just want to find out. Thank you very much. Hello, doctor.
Oh, good evening. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to find out. I'm insured with one of the insurance companies, right?
Yeah.
I have a funeral cover now. Lately, they've told me that when I reach 55, I don't have to worry about any premiums anymore, and the money that I contributed and the cover is now going to go the cover is going to go up with inflation every year. Is that true?
Yes, that's a feature of insurance products in general. So what you're talking about is some insurers would say, of course, 10,000 today is very different from 10,000 3 years from now, or 5 years or 10 years from now. So some policies do have that benefit of increasing the amount covered, the 10,000 or the 100,000 by inflation, for example, and that's factored into your monthly premium installment, 100%. So you can do that for funeral cover, you can do it for life cover, where they adjust that payout by inflation, because the money changes in value as we move into the future. It buys less and less. That is true.
All right. So ultimately, funeral cover is important.
It's very important.
Essentially, it is there to put us in financially.
Yeah.
Put us in the same place we were before the event of the death of a loved one.
Yes.
Right?
We can go and claim. And of course, Bra Orbs, it said someone has passed on. Sure. I lost my dad in December 21.
Yeah.
Before that, siblings.
Yeah.
You know, when you are going through grief,
yeah,
the last thing you want is running around trying to find monies to bury the loved one. So it also comes with that peace of mind when that unfortunate event happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is no question
of its
that
role.
that there is value in a funeral policy.
Absolutely, yes.
Of course, we do need to have side conversations
Correct.
about the mindset that we harbor around the idea of funeral policies.
Yeah.
But the one question that we must ask
Yeah.
is, how many of these do I have, because of their prevalence, because
Absolutely.
they are just so available.
You need two. Most people, if you work, you're employed in South Africa, you have group funeral cover, that's your first one, which might not allow you to cover extended family members. Then get a second one that can cover extended. That's what most people need, Bra Ops. And then be careful about the actual amounts covered. Don't over.
Here's some interesting
Insure.
questions.
Yes.
Here's some interesting questions coming from our WhatsApp line, 072-702-1702. Esteemed doctor,
Yes.
I have a life policy that offers a cash pay at death.
Yes.
And then a separate funeral cover that covers death and burial. What
Yep.
do I do? That's from Eugenia.
Beautiful. We didn't get to that.
Yeah.
Do we all need life cover? Funeral cover, Bra Ops? The answer may be no, because clever life covers is what is the question from the WhatsApp line saying. So what you are getting more and more now is life insurance companies are saying, wait a minute, should a death happen, we extend cash within 24 hours to you. You use that to bury the loved one, and then processes of claiming follow for the later payout of the big life insurance cover. So if you have life insurance that has that component, you don't need standalone life cover, funeral cover, and it's even cheaper. So in other words, what I'm saying is, if you've got if you've got life cover that says on death, we will extend cash within 24 hours, you use that to bury the loved one, we further process your life cover, and we pay you more later. You may not need a standalone funeral cover.
From James in Rudaport. Good evening, Aubrey and Dr. Frank. If it is that easy to insure a person for a funeral cover, can it not encourage people to insure someone and then cause his demise?
Bra Obs, the case, that the policewoman,
yes,
that was in the
Ndlovu.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what she was all about.
We're talking about.
Yeah.
Both for life cover, it's a little bit harder for life cover because there's a lot of questions when you have that product. But yes, often the fraud comes from people being covered, and then sometimes it's not even the person covered. They do fraud, they find a body, and they fake death certificate and insurance payout.
John in Observatory says, hello, Aubrey. One can also decide to donate your body to science and not have a funeral if it benefits others and at no costs. I'm sure that is a practical sort of piece of advice. I just doubt.
A bit hard.
Yeah, I just doubt.
I'm imagining telling my mom that.
Oh, my word.
My goodness.
Oh, my
word. We can't even go there.
But do you see that we need to have that conversation around the psychological, sociological sort of symbolism that funerals hold in many of our cultures?
I say to my mom, cremation. Achiyabona manje problem nina abantu bafundile.
Yeah.
Yini manje leyo nkuthela ngayo?
Yeah. Yeah,
She could not understand cremation.
Absolutely.
So it's a big topic.
Dr. Frank Magwegwe, how do we get in touch with you?
FrankMagwegwe.com. Hit that talk to Frank button. You know I'm the good doctor, so I must give you a bit of a prescription.
Yep.
Again, like we did last time. If you didn't get a chance with what we shared today, please look into those debit orders coming off and check how many funeral covers do you have. You shouldn't really have 3 or 4, probably 2 max. And you are not over-insured when you do that.
Dr. Frank Magwegwe, as always, it is a pleasure to have you here. The financial wellness head at an advisory at Nedbank and GIBS faculty member who's soon going to be professor.